doesn't stretch a letter enough, the other child will correct him, not looking into the mushaf.
It's not convincing.
Through memory.
But it's not convincing.
Now, the point here is this. Now, the onus is upon you to show me the mechanism of how that happens.
I'm going to explain to you the problems with oral tradition over long periods of time, given that they go from different cultures to different areas where different languages are spoken, and that you will lose information or you will gain information.
Has that happened?
I believe it has, yeah.
Can you demonstrate? Can you show me the evidence?
I can show you in the earliest manuscripts.
No, can you show me? No.
So you don't like manuscripts?
No. Can you show me the evidence of that happening today, where you have different Qur'ans being recited all over the world?
Does not conform to many of your earliest manuscripts.
Can you answer the question? Can you show me evidence?
If we talked about the biblical text, and
I'm not talking about the biblical text.
Yeah, but I'm saying you would never accept it.
No, of course.
You would never
well,
accept
I would accept it if they could demonstrate to me.
What, an oral tradition?
If they could demonstrate, yes, absolutely. If they could demonstrate to me that we have an oral tradition.
And you wouldn't say things like, Chinese whispers.
Let me finish. If they could demonstrate to me that we have an oral tradition, this is the James. This was the actual Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This is their oral tradition, okay? And we have lineages coming out from these scholars, right? Who taught hundreds, thousands, and now millions of people. And guess what? Every recitation of the Bible is letter for letter, word for word correct. You know what I would have to say humbly? That, you know what? Maybe I don't accept that this is from God, but I would have to concede that the only rational possibility is that there has to be preservation. That this could not have happened the way you're saying, Chinese whispers.
We know there wasn't preservation in your written materials, your earliest written materials. Not preservated.
Material. Okay, so who is saying, according to our written material, that the Quran is not preserved?
Daniel Brubaker.
Daniel Brubaker.
Yeah, he's a contemporary scholar to Yasser Qadi.
Daniel Brubaker is what? Sorry?
He's a contemporary Aramaic Quran expert who studies the earliest manuscripts, and he has said that they are differences between the earliest manuscripts and the standardized 1924.
Which work of Daniel Brubaker are you referring to?
Well, particularly his book. He wrote a book that was like a popular.
We debunked that book in various
This is the brother who debunked it, by the way.
So you're talking about
he was one of the brothers who debunked it.
examples or so.
Yeah.
And what does the examples demonstrate?
Demonstrate differences between the standardized Hafs Quran and the earliest manuscripts you have. They also demonstrate the existence of polypsis, which is manuscripts that were written over in a parchment or vellum with actual new words.
Let's talk about Daniel Brubaker.
So you added new words.
Daniel Brubaker wrote a book in which he's saying there are corrections in the manuscript traditions.
Yep.
Did he, let me ask you this question, because I'm sure you have read his book, you've understood his book, you've understood his methodology, and then you've verified that it's a robust methodology, so conclusions are correct.
Mainstream scholars.
Did you hear what I just said?
Yes.
So you've read his book, understood his methodology, so it's a robust methodology you agree with, and the conclusions you are agreeing that is correct. So let me ask you, a particular manuscript, he's saying there seems to be a correction happening here about a particular word, right?
Yeah.
So, did he then tell us that from the other contemporaneous manuscripts from that time period, either earlier, at the same time, just a little bit later, from around those other manuscripts, so we are talking about witnesses from other manuscripts, not only one isolated manuscript, has he done that in his book, and what did he say when he did that?
You mean has he compared multiple manuscripts? The answer is yes, he has compared multiple manuscripts.
So,
he mentions in his book particular ones that are thought of as being, by Muslims anyway, as Uthman copies. Most scholars say they're not Uthman copies, they come much
let me give
later.
you the first example of his 20 examples, right? So how many other manuscripts has also the same corrections that he compared?
Well, the corrections are often unique to particular manuscripts, right? Like you wouldn't find the same correction.
When we want to demonstrate something has been corrupted, because he says corruption in manuscripts, right? So we should find.
It's a change,
so we should find changes.
Or an insertion, or a removal. Or,
do you know his title of his PhD thesis?
no.
Intentional changes, something along these lines, right? So basically, he's saying this kind of corruption.
Well, we know that there was, because we know, for example.
No. Let's not talk about that. When you say we know,
explain what I'm talking about.
When you say we know, have you read his thesis?
Let me just explain what I'm talking about.
Have you read his thesis?
No, I've read his book. Let me explain what I'm talking about. He has noted in many earliest manuscripts, which are thought of as being copies of Quran in the Islamic tradition, have the word he replaced over with the word Allah in many places. So a scribe at some point has decided that was
look,
incorrect.
as I said, I have not only read his book, we have responded to his book, and it's a book that is available in academia free of charge, of course, over 300 pages.
Okay, but he hasn't actually made any opinion.
Can I make a point? Right. Because you're bringing him as a scholar who has an opinion on this issue about preservation.
He is an expert in the field.
Right. According to who?
According to academia. According to Yasser Khalid, according to all of the other Quranic experts, he is an expert in that field.
He's an expert in what?
In Quranic studies in the original Aramaic language.
Original Aramaic language. Anyway, okay, besides the point.
The one
besides the point. Yeah, of course. Expert in Aramaic language. I'm sure you will.
Are you saying he is?
No, I'm sure you'll reflect on it much later. Let's come back to this point. So the example he brings, for example, says this particular manuscript, say this is manuscript in top copy, right? Top copy manuscript, it has a particular correction step. So, according to what you've read, because you've read this book, he has compared with the other manuscripts from the same time period. We are talking about producing what we call a stemma. So he has looked at manuscript from same region or different regions from the same time, maybe about the 8th century, 7th century, whichever manuscript top copy is from, right? I'm not going to help you with the dates now. So either he brought manuscripts from before or after or contemporary time. And then he said, look, we have the same correction happening in all the other manuscripts, right?
No, I don't think it happens in all of them. Are you saying that?
No, I'm just giving you example number 1. And then I'm continuing with example number 2, 3, 4, up to 20. So has he done that with every example and he demonstrated that practice, yeah?
He is doing it with manuscripts as he is studying them. And he's taking note of them. For example, in his written work, 20 examples, he only picked 20.
My question.
Okay.
In his PhD thesis, he had about 800 pages. You haven't read it?
No, I haven't read it. I haven't said that.
The book says 20 examples,
Yes,
but it has more than 20 anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So within these 20 examples, obviously as a good scholar, he would say, look, this is a manuscript, and we have compared with other manuscripts around the same time period, and we have found their corrections on those as well, because that's when people are corrupting it, isn't it?
Right, yeah.
Wrong. You haven't read his book, because he doesn't compare with other manuscripts.
No, I'm just talking with what you would do. You described the methodology, I agree with that.
But he hasn't done that.
Yes, that's not the intention of his book.
Wait. What is it trying to show you?
He's trying to show you that there are differences between certain manuscripts and the standardized perhaps.
Can I just say one thing here? The brother raised the point about methodology.
Yeah.
You agreed that would be the better methodology. Hold on a second.
No,
please.
Okay.
You agreed that would be the correct methodology.
Yeah.
Okay. That would be the fair, just methodology. Yeah. But he doesn't do that.
Has he done that in his PhD thesis?
He doesn't do that.
He's doing this.
No. But the point is,
How long does it take to go?
No. The point is that he hasn't done that.
Yes. What he's done?
No. Hold on a second. Yeah. The point is that he's not done that.
Yes.
And now hold on. I haven't finished it.
My friend, I already agree with what you're saying.
Right.
I want to talk about
Therefore, when somebody doesn't do something that they are supposed to do to ensure that there is trust within a methodology, what should one conceively do?
My friend, you need to understand.
One should put it aside,
But not only this,
and not trust it.
Just to bring you in the reality scene here, because you are somehow divorced from reality. Why
we say that?
Let me explain. So in our response to his book, we have shown 7, 8, 9, 10 other manuscripts from around the same time frame, roughly, right? Sure. Sometimes early, sometimes contemporaries, sometimes a bit later, because we are talking about establishing a stem. And we have shown, let's say 8 other manuscripts has exactly the same word like we have on our Quran today.
Right, I agree.
Let me finish my point though.
Agreeing with you.
With every example, if we can demonstrate that we have more than one manuscript, from any manuscript that he brings, with the so-called corrections, we have many other manuscripts.
That's like the Christian position.
Let me finish my point.
Not at all.
Just to show you how insignificant his work is. The word is insignificant. So if we find for every example he brings, I bring you other 7 more examples of manuscripts, which is exactly the same reading as our manuscripts or other Quranic text today. It tells you and I and my brother here that the Quranic text that we read today is in line with our manuscript tradition, exactly preserved. So that means, how do we then explain those corrections? We go by looking at this particular example. Has this correction been made by the scribe by a mistake, a lapse of memory in writing? So you can see, for example, he writes at the end of a line and it comes to an alif. And then when it comes again to the next line, he repeats that alif again. Now, that is something he realized he didn't do. So this is a mistake that you'll find common in all manuscript editions, including biblical manuscripts.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So these corrections do not point to Qur'an's not being preserved. When we have other manuscripts with the same text of the Quran today, that points to Quranic preservation of our text. Do you agree?
No. Because your view of preservation, your version of preservation is not the same as the Christian version.
We're not talking about Christian preservation.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. What you
described
described is basically a really good Christian argument.
Not at all.
But it does not apply to the Quran whatsoever.
Not at all.
They say that the Quran has been perfectly preserved. Well, we know that's not true. We can go to the earliest manuscripts and see variants in it.
what?
The ones that Daniel Brubaker has.
Which one? Give an example.
Okay, so in one of the manuscripts, I can't remember which one. I can find out if we need to. But there was repeated attempts to change the word "he" in many verses to the word "Allah." It was written over in many of these manuscripts.
You know what? You should rather, instead of relying on this particular one individual, why don't
But
you...
that's a contemporary of scholarship. He is in the same bracket as Yasser Qadi.
No.
Who said that?
They work together.
They
write
don't
together.
work together.
They write together.
They don't write
They are
together.
contemporaries.
They don't work together. They don't write
word.
together. Yasser Qadi is not a Quranic scholar. Neither is Daniel Brubaker. Daniel Brubaker did his PhD thesis
He literally, that's his job.
Listen. Daniel Brubaker done a PhD.
Yes.
And that makes him
he
a scholar?
works for a university.
That makes him a scholar.
Okay, hold
Yeah.
on. Okay, hold on a second.
What? His name's Doctor.
Okay.
Oh, he's a
my
doctor.
God.
So you're saying doctors aren't scholars?
So that makes him an expert.
So
Yes.
I gave him the comment made by
Do you know about Dr. Tayyara Abdullah?
or Angela Newell, as I mentioned.
Do you know about
Or you write that's it.
Deroche?
No.
Angela Newell?
If you don't know about Deroche, and you think he's a scholar of the Quran, then you must be someone who is in evangelical Christianity. Is that right?
All I know is that Daniel
That's what they do.
Daniel Brubaker is
Can he
someone
speak?
who's...
Can he speak Arabic?
Can he?
Can Daniel Brubaker
yes,
speak Arabic?
to some degree. I've heard him say Arabic things, yeah.
If you
He
look
reads
at,
it
If
anyway.
you look at my Twitter exchange with him, now you realize I've exchanged with him, your so-called scholar. He makes so many basic mistakes in simple Arabic grammar that a child won't do, which I highlighted to him in his PhD thesis
Okay. People make mistakes.
and in his book.
Yeah, people make mistakes. I don't. That's not a
Do you
refutation. of
do you
someone's
understand
argument.
what I just said?
That's saying he made a
He
mistake somewhere.
doesn't even know basic Arabic language, and yet
Yes,
he's...
he does because he
No, he
translates.
doesn't. Do you know what I just said?
So you're
I
telling
said-
me he can work with Yasser Qadi.
No, he doesn't work with this.
They write. He's done videos where he literally takes an email from Yasser Qadi.
No,
Yasser
what-
Qadi
that-
peer
what-
reviewed his
that-
work.
Which work did he do in collaboration with Yasser Qadi?
Not in collaboration. I'm saying they both work at universities. Yes.
That makes
Is
them
it-
working
is it,
together.
I think what you're
No,
I think,
they're peers.
I
They peer review each other.
think what you're quoting is completely wrong. I'll tell you why.
Which part?
Yasser Qadi made a video against Brubaker.
Yes,
Yes.
because
Hold
they
on
are
a second.
contemporaries.
Hold on a second. Brubaker responded
Yes.
by some of the comments that Yasser Qadi had made against him.
Yes, and the email he sent to
Hold
him.
on a second.
Yes.
That's not called working together.
Brilliant.
When I say
What's
work,
work?
That's not called working together.
No, in scholarship,
That's
there's a
not called-
principle that when
that's
you
not-
write something
look.
like a PhD, you have to have it.
let-
You have to have it
listen to me.
evaluated by other
let-
scholars,
Yasser
such
Qadi
as.
was
let me
a peer reviewer.
So he's not.
of Daniel
Yasser Qadi has
Brubaker's
never
work.
read his.
In
Of
fact,
course he's read his
in
work.
fact,
You know he's read
in
his
fact,
work.
who were the supervisors of Dr. Brubaker's work in his PhD thesis?
I don't know, but there would have
You
been
should
other
find
scholars.
out. You should find out.
There are other scholars
Hang
who
on.
he quotes.
How? Look, when you do your PhD, this is something that you need to really understand.
Basic
when
stuff.
you do your research,
basic, right?
when you do a research, you do a research under a particular supervision of other scholars, right? Your PhD supervisors. Who was his PhD supervisors? How much role and involvement did they have? He did it under Rice University.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So I really ask you, go and read his PhD thesis, read about the proficiency and expertise of his supervisors and how much they were involved in his work. Right? That's his PhD thesis. So why is he making simple grammatical mistake? Like, for example, you'd say Inna Allaha ala kulli shay'in qadir. You're not going to say Inna Allahu. Even a child who's just beginning to speak Arabic, they're not going to say Inna Allahu. You know why? Because after what comes after the word Inna, the article Inna, it has to come from this form called Mansub. Inna Allaha, and the sign of Fatha, and so on. A scholar, an expert, would not make such a mistake, in which he does, and which is being pointed to.
People make mistakes.
No, people don't make mistakes in simple Arabic grammar.
It's just too much.
Well, that's not his native language, right? He had to learn it.
So if he doesn't know simple Arabic language, how is he going to be able to read what it says in a very old Arabic script?
Mate, I'm English,
Language
and I
he
make
doesn't
mistakes
know
when I write
himself.
English.
Let me explain something to
You
you.
understand something? The language he doesn't know. So how is he going to read
He
what it
does
says?
know it because he translates it.
Let me explain
Just one
something.
moment, brother, and then I'll... For example, he talked about a particular example of how, this particular word is. I actually made a response, a video response, about issues of Hamza and how it sits on the kursi, okay? Something very basic. So, please watch that on Dawah.channel. Yeah? Dawah.channel channel. And you will see that a scholar of this caliber who's making simple mistakes like this, of course is going to make a mistake in reading manuscripts. Then his reading, his interpretation, is it going to be faulty or is it going to be robust? If he doesn't know how to read.
Well, no, he doesn't know how to read it. He makes mistakes. I'll go into that.
No. If he doesn't know how to read.
Can I just address that point?
I'm pretty sure he can read Arabic.
Okay, can I just address that point?
He can read Arabic, yeah.
If your child is at school and is being taught by an English teacher, and you decide to sit in, and she makes basic errors of grammar and spelling, would you trust that? Hold on a second. Would you trust that teacher to teach your child?
Okay. It depends on why they're doing it. If they're making errors because they're having a bad day, sure, they're having a bad day. But if they literally don't know, then that's a problem.
So that's a problem,
I
right?
do believe he does
Would
know
you trust?
because it's his
Would
job
you
to
trust
know.
that teacher to teach your
And he's peer
child?
reviewed.
Would you trust that teacher?
If they're having a bad day, I won't have a problem with it.
No, repeat it.
That's right. That's right. Repeatedly.
But as he said, oh, that was a mistake, and as he corrects himself.
He repeatedly makes the same mistake.
So I'm asking you the question again.
Well, we'll see.
Would you trust that teacher?
Can I just ask?
No. Would you trust that teacher?
I've already gave my answer. If they're having a bad day, that's fine. But if they actually don't know English, then yeah.
Then yes, you have a problem. Right now, hold on a second. Right now, okay. So when Brother Mansour is pointing out
He doesn't know Arabic.
basic. Brother Mansour is pointing out basic errors in grammar in the Arabic language, a language which is necessary for you to be able to be a critical scholar within that language,
fact that he's
and
been
you
peer
find no
reviewed
problem.
as a scholar,
Listen to me.
do you not think
Do you
he
understand
is
how
valid?
peer review works?
Yes.
How does it work?
In universities,